Welcome to the LFG Pats Pod with your hosts, Joe and Mike. Let's go!
Let's go.
All right. Welcome into the LFG Pats Pod. This is episode 47. And boy, do we got a spicy one tonight. I can't even contain myself. There's so much excitement. Will Campbell, boys. Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? Is he an Amazon worker? We don't know yet. We're trying to figure this out. We're trying to put the screws to this. We're going to play this out a little bit like a court case drama. It may turn into a battle royale. Who knows? Mike and I might jump off the top ropes. We'll see. So we got Brycen in here. Thanks, Brycen, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'll save the opener for the opener.
Is the PatsPro in?
PatsPro's here. We got PatsPro. He's not on the screen, but he's mysteriously in the background. We can hear him. How's it going, PatsPro?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, gentlemen. Brycen, good to be on with you. I am floating ethereally in the background, ready to pounce and prattle on as needed. And
I can feel his frequency right now, bro.
Yes. I'm zooming, bro. I'm zooming. I took my Adderall. I'm ready to go.
Wait, someone said boomer versus zoomer. Which one of us is the zoomer?
I was wondering the same thing.
Definitely not me. I was born in 1992.
Boomer versus
me. Maybe he'll clarify. He's saying Brycen's owning, so who knows? He's a Brycen fan.
All right, so we're going to talk about it, boys. So normally we would have some lighthearted topics. We would talk about, what's going on in the news. We talk about, sponsors. We would talk about all kinds of stuff to distract you from the main event. We're going to jump right into the main event. We're not going to mess around here. Everyone wants to hear it. This guy's saying no PEDs allowed. I don't know, Brycen. I've seen some pictures of you. I don't know if you're on PEDs or what, but maybe it's possible. I have to test you after the show. But no, so we have to get into it. So we're going to jump right into opening statements. PatsPro, give me your opening statement on Will Campbell, the left tackle.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you fine people. Today I bring to you with a humble sense of solitude and gratitude the fact that Will Campbell is in fact a left tackle. Today's argument, you will hear things such as he's got short arms, he'd be an all-pro guard. You'll hear every single which way around this argument of why Will Campbell does not belong at left tackle. I, however, am here to tell you that left tackle is not only the position he belongs in, but by the end of his career, he will be a top 10 left tackle of the century.
Ooh.
Having said that, I will give the argument over to my counterpart, Brycen. Brycen, thank you for being here.
All right, opening statement, Brycen. Give us your counterpoint.
Well, thank you all for having me on here. Thank you, PatsPro. That was a very great statement. Very hard to follow a statement like that, but a very powerful statement. But I am equally as powerful as PatsPro in this edition of myself. But I would just like to tell you guys, when PatsPro and I were arguing on the timeline, multiple people were DMing me. They were like, this is awesome. And then multiple big people that we would all know were wanting to host this debate. And I was like, you know what? No. LFG Pats Pod, that's the place that we're going to have this debate. So I thank you all for having me. I stay loyal to the friends over here. So thank you guys very much for having this debate.
Oh, we enjoy it. We enjoy it. We love it.
Way to make me look like an asshole immediately. Yeah, boys, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys. But anyway, fellas, opening statement. I'll keep it brief. I won't keep you very long. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. But some of the things PatsPro is saying are not wrong. However, by the end of this conversation, you will find some things to be true. You will say, man, I think Brycen believes in Will Campbell more than PatsPro and the rest of the Will Campbell FC. They don't believe in him quite as much. And you know what? The other thing that I will say is I'm going to concede something real quick because there's people in here that are going to accuse me of this, and PatsPro is going to do this too, which is perfectly fine with me. I'm fine conceding this position. The position is that I hate Will Campbell and I want him to fail. Okay, I don't care about that. Go ahead and say that I do. I'll concede. I'll say yes, that is actually true. All right, because it doesn't hurt my position to do so. So I'll give you the opening W. So you will have one at least during this debate. So you will have the W of I don't like Will Campbell. I want to see him fail because, the evidence will show that it doesn't hurt my position. What you guys are going to find out is that it's not a bad thing to be a guard. It's not a bad thing to be drafted at as a position and play another position. It's not a bad thing for Logan Mankins to be in college as a tackle and then play left guard. That doesn't make him a lesser player. And you don't have to hold on to this position that you've had because the Patriots have drafted him. And the ticker said tackle. You don't have to actually stick beside this position. So what I want you to do, if you're listening to this podcast right now, is just hear me out. Open up your hearts. Don't be so mad at me right now, okay? I want to win you over. I want you to see it my way here, folks. I want you to open up your minds and think. Think for a second. If everyone's saying the same thing, no one is thinking. So it's time. Let's think. And with that, I'll pass it off.
So, Brycen, just real quick. So you dislike Will Campbell. Is that a personal thing, or is that just strictly an on the field thing? It just sounds like you don't like the guy.
Listen, I'm a person with short arms, and I'm the only short arm person around here, okay? I'm the only person that gets to say I've got big biceps and short arms. Will Campbell does not do that to me, okay? So I hold this against him.
As a card-carrying member of the Short Arm Society, I stand 6'1", and I have a wingspan of a man who's 5'9". So I'm also a member of the Short Arms Club. Anyways. Please continue with your thought, Brycen. I just figured I'd share that.
Let the record be shown that there is no short arm bias. Both of our defense and our prosecution both have short arms. I just want the jury to understand that.
Thank you, Joe. Well said.
Yep, totally correct. And for the sake of this podcast, you guys, I'll admit, I'll just concede that position, but just know that I'm a Patriots fan like you. Okay. I want the Patriots to succeed. And I've been in this spot before. I've been in the spot where it's not popular to say. I've been one of the people that moves the Overton window. And that's really the strength that I have on X.com is when Gerard Mayo is getting Gatorade bats and I'm telling you this is not going to work out well. When Mac Jones is in his first year, I'm telling you this is not good. And everyone hated me for it. Or when N'Keal Harry looks like a tight end and I say he's an offensive lineman and everyone hated me for it. Eventually it comes my way. So this is one of those times, and I'll be humble. If I'm wrong in my position and he's actually just a great tackle, that's actually good for me. So it won't hurt my feelings if you guys tweet me and you're like, oh, Will Campbell's an awesome tackle. Because what you'll see in these arguments is that a lot of the things that I'm saying about Will Campbell will just ring home true, and they already have. So, I've already made my opening statement, and, PatsPro, it really is his position to say that Will Campbell is a left tackle, and I'm the opposing position. So I would just like for him to get into what he thinks about the matter, and then I will do some rebuttal. And maybe, you guys direct it how you want. It's not a adversarial conversation, so we'll have time to hash out all of our points. So I'll just go
absolutely, Brycen. One thing that I just want to interject, and then you guys can continue going on. If we were to move Campbell into left guard, what's our plan at left tackle?
See, this is the thing that people will say. They'll be like, well, where's the left? Well, you don't have a left tackle. It's like, this is called the sunk cost fallacy. You've drafted Will Campbell, and potentially you're going to have to move him to guard. Maybe I'm going to argue that you should do that. And it's like, okay, but they would be in this position regardless, in my opinion. They should have done this. I've said they should have done this last year. People that are smarter than me said that they should have probably already done this by now. It's like, to me, if it were me, I would invest in left tackles. I know it's not easy, but I like Vidarian Lowe. If you have to pay him a little bit of money, I'm perfectly fine with that. We're going to get into why I think that would be actually not a bad idea. And this is something that I said before the season. This is exactly what I said. I said, look, I think Will Campbell would be great at left guard. I think if he was a left guard, I would feel completely confident in that position. I would have no hard feelings about that. And that middle offensive line would be one of the best in the NFL because you have Onwenu, Bradbury, or Wilson. I think Wilson is another one that is playing out of position, by the way. But I think if you had Will Campbell at left guard, then you would have one spot where you're like, even I like Vidarian Lowe. I posted Vidarian Lowe hype edits. I would tell you I'm confident in Vidarian Lowe, even though I have the stats here. We'll talk about it later. But it's like now have one position I'm worried about. Whereas I said what was going to happen. I said if Will Campbell plays left tackle, you have two positions you're worried about. And when it came to the playoffs and when it came to several games in the regular season, you saw that. It wasn't just like stunts or whatever it was. You had two spots where that's hard to deal with. Whereas if you just have one, that it's maybe not the best position that you have. But we've seen the Patriots do with this. And if you're confident in Vrabel, and if you love Doug Marrone, then you would say that they can they'll be able to find a tackle. And by the way, it's not as easy to find a left guard. And if it was, they wouldn't have a turnstile there. It's not. People just say like, oh, it's just easy to find a left guard. Really, it is. Look at all those Patriots Super Bowl teams. Talk to me about those guards. Did Logan Mankins win a Super Bowl? Remember those Brian Stork years? Remember Ryan Wendell? Remember all these guys? These are not great guards. Like, it's not easy just to have a guard. And when they did have a guard, they just let him walk away. And that's Joe Thuney. By the way, another guy that was a tackle that played tackle in college and is a left guard, who I've said Will Campbell was like the entire time of his career. And suddenly I'm like the biggest Will Campbell hater ever. I guess we're just already going to get into it, but that's my position. It's like, well, I have a player that would solidify a position. And yes, I'm going to have to open up myself to draft or sign or something. I'm gonna have to fill that position. But I feel like you're gonna have to do that anyway at left. And like, I don't want the Patriots, like, that's the most worry that I have of the offseason, that their thinking is, okay, all we need is Will Campbell healthy, all we need is Drake May healthy. And then if we just get a left guard, and then everything's all good. Like, that's disaster class, and that's part of the reason why I'm here arguing this. And I've already talked too much, so I'll let PatsPro.
All right, order in the court, Brycen. Order in the court. We're gonna reel him in.
We'll let PatsPro shine.
All right,
PatsPro shine for a while. Yeah.
So we have to hear the counter argument. So Bryson's argument was basically, if we move Will Campbell into left guard, then we have one position figured out versus we have Jared Wilson and Will Campbell, right? And a complete mess on the left side. What's your counter argument to that?
Well, first, I would like to thank the judges for providing a fair courtroom and allowing a lowly citizen insider to talk.
I accept all forms of flattery.
So when it comes to my argument, I certainly agree with Brycen that we do have a need on this offensive line, and it is left guard. However, I do not feel that Will Campbell would be suitable for that position. Would he be able to play it? Potentially. However, Will Campbell has never played anything but left tackle. Will Campbell has trained at left tackle since he's been, what did he start? A junior in high school. So he has 8 years of experience at the third hardest position on the offensive side in football. So I think left guard is certainly an area of opportunity. I don't think Jared Wilson was particularly well suited to fill that role in 2025, 2026. But when it comes to Will Campbell, he's only ever been a left tackle. He played left tackle in the SEC at LSU. He wore the number 7. He was the best athlete on the team. When it comes to his in-season performance, and this is going to be before the injury came, I have it right here. He ranked, and of course I don't have it in front of me because I'm an asshole. He ranked number 11 in all of left tackles with a 5.46% pressure rate. Now, before we get into the numbers, I would also, my first argument would be, well, who's next? You're going to either try to draft or try to sign at the third hardest position on the offensive side of the ball, the spot that protects the blind spot of your moneymaker, Drake May. Left tackles don't grow on trees, folks. You have one right here. Now, is he going to be, Joe Thomas? No, I don't think he's going to be Joe Thomas. Is he going to be, the next Matt Light? I think he has a very strong possibility to be. Now, we'll get into this later, and I want to be as brief as possible. But when it comes to Vidarian Lowe specifically, I understand Brycen is a fan of him. His pressure rate last year was 6.59%, which was 23rd of all left tackles last year. In comparison, he also had 13 penalties last year to Campbell's 9. Now, on top of that, he let both Jacoby Brissett and Drake May get the shit beat out of him. Now, I can make the argument, and I'm sure that others have as well, that Will Campbell was not totally at fault for all of the sacks that he led up during the 2025 season when he was healthy. And this is an argument that I'll get into more once we get down the line. But when healthy, I don't think Will Campbell's problems were all on Will Campbell. I think it was the coaching malpractice, and yes, I'm going to call it malpractice, of allowing Jared Wilson to play out of position the entire season instead of subbing in Ben Brown, who statistically, in my opinion, had better play in substitution of Jared Wilson than Jared Wilson did himself. So I think the combination of having a rookie left side of your line, and I get it, Jared Wilson, he's a road grader, I don't care about that. What I care about specifically is how the line interacts and how people take to their positions and also how people do with their assignments. I would argue that Will Campbell handles his assignments better when he had Ben Brown to the right of him. And with that, I will relinquish the rest of my time back to the judges, who will decide what to do next.
I just want to strike from the record the word malpractice. That's very libelous. Just strike that from the record, please. Okay, sorry, Mike. Continue.
But just Pats Pro. So I'll ask you a similar question I asked Brycen. So then, what would be the plan at left guard and center? I like Ben Brown too, but he's not the answer. Like moving forward for the future, I personally think we should get a stud left guard if your scenario holds, and have Wilson as either the starting center or a backup to Garrett Bradbury.
Garrett Bradbury, yes.
So what is your plan to replace that on the left guard and the center position if we keep Will Campbell at left tackle?
So if we keep Will Campbell at left tackle, I think, again, Jared Wilson either has to become the starting or backup center. I'm fine with either. To be honest, Garrett Bradbury, he's a little undersized for the position. He did well this year. However, he has the ability and on film did get taken advantage of in certain key spots. I think Wilson with a bigger, stockier build with a full offseason of preparation at strictly center, that is his natural position. That would be the most beneficial position to put him in. In terms of left guard, people have brought this guy up. Sorry, I get distracted. That's a good one. Elijah Vera Tucker would be a guy who I'd want to bring in. In terms of free agency, was it Joe Bitonio from Cleveland? I saw he's not going to be returning to Cleveland along with their entire offensive line. Honestly, if we could bring in the Cleveland offensive line and just substitute all of them in, I'd be fine with that. But those are two guys who I think could fill that role. They have a ton of experience in the role. They've had a ton of success in the role. And I think that would be the most beneficial thing to keep the line continuity where it is, but also take advantage of players at their natural positions.
All right. I'd like to get the converse argument, Brycen. What happens when we start Will Campbell this year? Because it's Mike Vrabel's come out and said that he's our left tackle. He's not our guard. He's not a center. He's not a quarterback. I forget what else he said, but essentially, what is the worst case scenario here? What are we looking at this year, Brycen?
Well, I think the worst case scenario is that you have something that's a solid tackle, but maybe nothing more than that, like the 11th to 12th, 10th best left tackle in the league. And then you have just complete mutiny at the left guard once again. It's like, the thing is, guys, Jared Wilson is 22. Okay, so he gets a lot of he can develop. Why can't he develop? He's 22 years old, just like Will Campbell is. So when people are like, well, Will Campbell's young, it's like, okay, so is Jared Wilson, by the way. And that's another argument. I would actually agree with him. He's playing out of position, but why does he not get the grace? Why does he not get another offseason to lift weights and be bigger and be stronger and be faster? Why does he not get all of this stuff? So that's one of my counter arguments there. It's like, it's not really even that easy to find a guard. And I know people will say there's guards everywhere in free agency. It's like, okay, there might be, but this is not an easy, just sign up. You just have a good guard. It's like, we've been here in years where they don't have good guards. Okay. And, that's one of the things there, but there are several things that PatsPro said that I would like to talk about if Joe allow me to.
I think we'll allow it. We'll see where this goes. Let me see where it goes first.
Bring it in.
Okay. Well, he's talked about two things. He talked about Campbell in 25 and Vidarian Lowe in 24. And then he talked about the transition from tackle to guard. And I would
proceed.
I would just like to say that you have Zach Martin, 32 and 7/8 inch arms, all pro, awesome guy, played tackle in college. Joe Tooney, same thing, smaller arms than Will Campbell, even awesome guard. When he played tackle, he got a little exposed, but guess what? He's solid at tackle. When you play him, he's solid there. But when you have good players there, it's completely exposed. You have Joe Batonia, you have Logan Mankins, you have Brandon Scherf, you have Tyler Smith, you have TJ Lang, and I'm telling you, all of these have similar measurements to Will Campbell. The only difference between these guys and Will Campbell is that he's huge. He's like 6'6", okay? And I think that's part of the reason why we're like, well, he's a tackle. You have to think about this. Just like close your eyes and think about it. You have a very tall person, okay? And you have abnormally small shoulders, abnormally small wingspan, abnormally small hands, abnormally small reach, okay? That leaves you top heavy. So when Trent Brown, who I love to death, a great friend of mine, Trent Brown, and all these other players are talking about, well, it's just his technique. Do you see how high he is? It's like, yes, he's high. He's 6'6", and you can't expect him just to like bend down every play and like block everyone. Like that, to me, that argument is like, well, if N'Keal Harry would just run his routes like this, then he would be a better player. It's like, yeah, there's kind of a reason he doesn't. It's because he's slow. And there's kind of a reason why Will Campbell has a hard time. It's because he's huge with smaller arms. Like the thing about the arms and the wingspan, like people just like brush that off like, oh, it doesn't matter. This is a statistical anomaly, okay? You're going against years and years of evidence. I think he had the smallest wingspan since like 1999 in the combine. Like
it's amongst the lowest ever. Dating back 20 years.
That's a big deal, guys. Like you can't just to me, you cannot just gloss over that. And it's much easier when you're playing on the inside. There's not as much space, so you don't have to worry about, well, if you're trying to recover, you can't reach to literally punch someone. Did we watch the Super Bowl? Did you see what happened when the corner is blitzing and Will Campbell can't get an arm on him? How about all those pictures during the season of guys literally having their arm in his chest and he can't reach them? Like this is this is a problem, okay? It doesn't mean he's a bad player. It doesn't mean he's like complete garbage, because PatsPro is right. A lot of the stats that he has, it's like you look at him, you're like, oh, that's not too bad. And I'll be graceful, okay? I'll actually concede. I actually probably should thoroughly argue that he wasn't injured in the playoffs because he was not on the injury report, okay? When he came back from IR or whatever, he was drinking beer, chugging beers at a Celtics game and smiling, and everyone loved it.
So I do want to pause you right there, Brycen, because I do want to call to the witness stand. I do want to call playoff Will Campbell, okay? So we're going to start with playoff Will Campbell, and we're going to pass it back to PatsPro. PatsPro, what questions do you have for playoff Will Campbell?
So my immediate question would be, or my immediate statement would be, Brycen is right. He was not listed on the injury report. However, there's a difference, and many players have said this, there's a difference between being on the injury report and being banged up and not being 100%. You can, go to the trainer and say, yeah, I feel fine, but realistically, you're only playing at like 80% of your potential. So that's number one. Playoff Will Campbell specifically, and I'll talk about regular season Will Campbell later, but specifically
he's coming later.
Your question, he's coming later. But playoff Will Campbell specifically, there was a serious lack of get off. There was a serious lack of aggressiveness. There was a lack of foot speed and anchor ability, which Will Campbell, being a player who, as Brycen rightly points out, is a little longer in the upper body, has the shorter arms, doesn't bend as well as you would hope he would. That's not his game, though. His game is being able to get off quickly, get in position quickly, anchor, and also finesse. That's his game. It just being truthful, that's what it is. He's not, a power player when it comes to the pass protection sets. He's more of a foot speed, get to my spot, try to finesse, try to hand battle. That's what he is. So, and Savage is right. The training staff is at massive fault. This is my point that I wanted to make earlier that I said I was saving. It is coaching malpractice to allow Will Campbell to play in the playoffs, because Will Campbell at 70% was not good enough to protect Drake May, was not good enough to be on the offensive line.
He was playing on a partially torn MCL. Is that what you
Yes.
believe? Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's confirmed. He was playing on a partially torn MCL. Now, yes, the injury can heal in 3 to 6 weeks. Sure. You're not going to be the same. You need to have either a knee scope done or you need to let it heal naturally, and that takes months. Because if you look at Will Campbell in his pass sets during the playoffs and Will Campbell in his pass sets during the first 13 games of the season, it's totally different. The speed is totally different. He's not able, because it was his right knee. When you're a left tackle, you need to be able to kick step and start that with your right knee or with your right leg. He didn't have the power to get himself back as quickly, and that's why you see him getting bowled over, because he's not able to get back as quickly and anchor as he normally would. In my opinion, him trying to traditionally set in pass blocking isn't what his game should be anyways. He should really kind of almost go out into the left and really get in guys' faces before they can really build up speed to bull rush him, because that's a main problem of his. But specifically Will Campbell in the playoffs, you saw that his foot speed was not nearly what it should have been. And his ability to block, anchor, and die slowly, which is what a left tackle or any tackle is supposed to do, he didn't have it because he didn't have the strength to be able to do it in his lower body.
And especially
all right, hold on. Go ahead, Mike.
A guy like that, because of the arm and wingspan situation, he has to be exceptional with his footwork.
Yes,
which is what helps him win battles. So he was hampered by that injury. He wasn't able to get to his strength, and that's why he struggled. Is that along the same lines?
That is absolutely correct. He needs to be excellent with his footwork, but also he needs to time his footwork with his hand placement and hand fighting. And because he wasn't able to properly utilize his footwork, because he didn't have the strength and speed, he wasn't able to properly utilize his hands, which is why you saw him get bowled over even on that false start.
All right, so we heard a lot of medical conjecture, I'll call it. We had some.
I'm a licensed doctor, sir. No,
are you a medical professional? Brycen, are you a medical professional?
I am the doctor of the Darian Lowe's heart. Okay?
I would like to just say that to the jury that there are no medical professionals present, so we're not exactly sure. I have put out the call to a specific PhD.
Hey, there was one person that discussed this. If you would allow me to talk about this.
Go ahead, Brycen.
Listen.
Actually, hold on.
Okay.
Our medical professional has showed up, so we're going to add him to the stage now.
Bring him in.
Oh, come on. What? This witness
audio only people. Hold on.
This was not in Discovery. I didn't know that this witness would be
here.
Hold
on, Pat. I'm gonna remove you from the stage because you're audio only. I have to bring in Savage. 1 second. We'll be right back.
When Savage comes in, we gotta take the call.
Oh, no worries.
Yo,
Savage, you there? Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we had to there was a lot of medical conjecture going on, and we needed somebody with a degree to come in.
Well, I almost said something on the chat because I was just listening, and then PatsPro said something about his MCL hearing and scoping, and I was like, I almost started typing. I was like, I don't feel like interjecting about like MCL healing, but basically So with his knee, as you know, most people with MCL injuries, there's like different degrees of tearing. Like usually they say 1, 2, and 3. I think Brycen knows this stuff too. A grade 3 typically just means it's torn. It's a rupture. That's what a grade 3 means, right? And then a grade 1 is small degree of tearing. Grade 2 is a larger degree of tearing. Most MCL injuries heal on their own. Like the majority of them, they heal. They just actually heal. Like it regrows, as opposed to the ACL, which doesn't have blood flow and actually can't regrow together, which is why they have to perform an operation to reattach the ACL, right? That's the difference. Why MCLs regrow. And it affects your lateral stability. It basically prevents a certain degree of translation laterally at the knee. That's what the MCL does, just like your LCL, right? It protects it. Anyway, so yes, long story short, if Will Campbell ruptured or had a significant MCL injury, that's a real injury. That's an injury that's going to make it so that your quad can't fire correctly. You feel like you don't have the same power, the same stability at your joint than you might have before your injury, right? So I just argue that if he was going to be, as PatsPro alluded to, he said 70%. I don't know what we think he was, 80%, 70%, 90%, 100%. I don't know. But all I know is if he was not 100%, in my opinion, he really should not have been playing, because I rewatched every freaking snap from that Super Bowl, and it was genuinely an atrocity. An atrocity. And I know we all watched it, and if you did rewatch the game, you re-saw it on tape. I mean, to get bull rushed how he did was horrible. I mean, even on dead plays, got knocked on his ass. So, yes, something was very wrong still. I'm going to hope it's the knee, because otherwise you have even more reason to be concerned.
So you would
Savage,
agree that there
does
was,
he need surgery?
malpractice?
Wait, hold on. What's up?
Does he need surgery, do you think?
Doubtful. You don't really repair an MCL unless it's just so far apart and so ripped that you would have to actually bring it back together. But typically, you do not repair an MCL. Sometimes there's like a specific injury, like you'll injure the MCL and like your medial meniscus at the same time, which also usually comes with an ACL. But he just did the MCL. He got lucky. The other pieces got spared. I don't think you're necessarily going to hear that he had surgery unless he had damage to a different structure.
So you do agree that there was malpractice in the coaching staff?
I hate to use the term malpractice as because it's an actual like a legality thing.
I know.
But I would say, I think if you have a player that is not 100%, and to me, if you have Vidarian Lowe, who would have given you more in the postseason, and I do believe that. I know everyone's like, "Oh, Lowe sucks." Yeah, I get it. But he can pass block. He's an okay pass blocker. He's got very long arms. He can just set an edge, and So I think if he knew Campbell was not 100%, then Lowe should have been playing. And that's my only criticism of Vrabel, is that he just falls in love with people and falls in love with players, and I don't think he can move off some players in the roles they're in, and that concerns me a little.
100%.
It doesn't help that he did that with Ramondre and it worked, right?
Well, I think it convinces him that he's right. You know what I mean? Like he stuck.
This is what he does, man. Like if you talk to Titans fans, they tell you, get ready to learn. He digs in the takes.
Yeah, I think
he did it with Jared Wilson, and Jared Wilson should not have been starting in the Super Bowl. Just
Vidarian Lowe, Ben Brown.
I mean, if he was proven right with a couple players, he's proven right, especially with Ramondre, who had a great second half and stopped fumbling. But I don't know, man. I think there's something here that he loves this kid. Like he wants this kid to be his 10-year tackle. Like he loves this kid. And I know Campbell's a good kid. Like I get that, but man, it's like some days I just think, fuck, could they just rip off the Band-Aid and just get him at guard, because he's built to be a guard. As Brycen said, I agree. I think the wingspan thing is really weird. He's got very, very narrow shoulders, and I think he'd be powerful with quick burst, but setting that edge, especially if his knee's jacked, where he can't set the edge nor take a bull rush, that's obviously a massive problem. So, there's some issues there.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the stepping in, giving us the medical advice, Savage.
I'll sign off. You guys continue doing a great job. Just want to give a
Should we ask him about Drake May's shoulder, or we don't have time?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question.
He was on the injury report.
I think he looked a little dead arm, a little weak for the Super Bowls, heaving the ball up. Not the same guy, but he's fine. He'll probably fine right now. He could play today. He's 22 years old or whatever he is, 23.
He'll be all right.
He's doing it.
Fine. All right, Savage. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
All right, Savage Sports Boston. Now we got PatsPro back. PatsPro, thanks for joining back in. Appreciate you going in the back room there. But you could still hear us, which was good.
Yeah. Just shove me in the closet. It's fine.
All right. So now that we've called playoff Will Campbell to the stage.
Wait, I didn't get to talk about
that's right. Sorry, Brycen. Yes.
First of all, I just want to say that witness was not sworn in. Okay, none of that jury redact all of the testimony.
Redacted.
No, just kidding. A lot of good stuff by Savage Boston there. I think he's right in a lot of things that he's actually saying. I would just like to a brief counter is that if you know that Will Campbell is suffering and struggling, and you just didn't even list him on the injury report, not even full participant on the injury report, you have cost people millions of dollars. And you are Savage. You just opened the Patriots up to this, and this is my worry about this conversation is when you talk about stuff like this. I can't go off of what Savage Boston says. I have to go off of what I have in front of me, which is the injury report. I might agree that, like, yeah, maybe he's hurt and stuff like that. And actually, for the sake of the matter, if I'm comparing Lowe and Campbell, I'll just go ahead and take Will Campbell's playoff stats out of the equation completely. And I'll concede that. I'll just say, yeah, maybe he was a little bit banged up. What I say about players, especially, and this is what actually something I do worry about him. And it's like when players have summers where they're not getting better and they're just rehabbing or they're trying to get simply back to baseline, that's when you start worrying about players having drop-off seasons and not coming back well. If you remember, Juju Smith-Schuster had, when he signed with the Patriots, he had just hurt his knee. And I said, when you have an off season of rehab, this is not good for a player. And that's one thing. If you're telling me like this is actually a problem, I worry even more for next season. This is not just a thing where you can just like go and hit the weight room and like you're back 100%. Especially, I think Seth Main said like he's going to have surgery. I don't think he's going to have surgery, right? But this is something that I would worry about, right? But anyway, that I'll just go ahead and concede to you guys that like, yeah, he wasn't 100%. But the thing that I was going to say is that a lot of Patriots fans were mad when Dr. David Chow, who I followed for years and years, and he was always on the money with injuries and watching players in games. And I took his word as bond, literally. He was, when people were like slandering him, I'm like, dude, this guy's been right for years. Like, I kind of get it. You want to be skeptical, but this is the guy who said had everything worked out the way that it did, Will Campbell would have been 95% better by the time of the Super Bowl. But, that's just food for thought there. I'm not even arguing that. But Drake May, he said his shoulder is hurt. And people were like, oh, his shoulder is not hurt. How could his shoulder be hurt? And then he popped up on the injury report. They put him on. And his injury is not even that serious. Right? He had to take pain-killing injections. But if you can imagine, if Will Campbell's knee is bothering him that badly, why would he not have pain-killing injections? Why would he not be on the injury? I don't understand. We didn't hear any of that stuff. We heard none of that stuff, right? So that's one of the things that makes me a little skeptical. But for the sake of the matter, I will just be like, okay, he was hurt. He had a couple weeks where he wasn't playing football. It's kind of hard to get back in the groove of things. And he had a lot of really tough matchups to go against. I'll just concede like all of that stuff.
There's a fly in the ointment of that evidence, right? So I do agree. I think going back to the larger sample size in the regular season might be a better way to approach it.
So, but was Savage right in saying that Vrabel sticks to his guys to a fault? Like stuck to his guy, maybe left him off the injury report because he's his guy, stuck with Wilson at left guard because he's his guy. When we all look around and we thought there could have been a better combination or solution, is Savage right that Mike Vrabel sticks to his guys a little bit too much?
He might be, but in this case, you got to think about it. You're Mike Vrabel. The people, imagine he's not the person that says Will Campbell's injured or not. He doesn't have that type of mind or capability. Like, we're doctors of the Darian Lowe's heart. PatsPro and I are not doctors of medical science, right? So, but Vrabel is not either, for that matter. So people are telling him this information, and he has to just go off what he hears. So what he knows is that, okay, whatever information he had made him believe that Will Campbell was good enough to play in the game and not be on the injury report. So we do have to actually keep that in mind. Does he really stick to players to a fault sometimes? Yes, he does. He loves his players, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, right? But, as much as I will in the game be mad and tweet like, this can't be happening right now, get Vidarian Lowe in the game, at the same time I see where he's coming from, so I can't really blame him that much. Although if you look at Titans Twitter, they were all like, they were ratioing us to death. They were mogging us all over the timeline because they're like, yep, this is this what he does.
They're so happy.
He has a player he
They're
likes.
So happy.
He's just gonna throw him out there, and you're gonna get the worst end of that stick. So
all right. So now that we've talked about playoff Will Campbell, I think it's only fair that PatsPro gets to question regular season. Now, you brought up he was top 10, I believe, or
Just outside the top 10. So I know where
outside.
you're going. So
Pressure rate.
I'll just start with this. When it comes to rookie seasons, Will Campbell had I would call it a pretty decent rookie season for a left tackle, especially going against the types of defensive lines and edge players that he was set to face. Now, you may say, oh, PatsPro, they face sucky teams, blah, 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 blah. They faced some of the best defensive lines in the league last year. So that's number one. And you can feel free to argue me on that. Number two, yes, he had a pressure rate, again, just outside the top 10 of 5.46%, which ranked 11th. Now, we'll get to Vidarian a little later, and I won't bring up that argument just yet. Penalties, he had 9. So I will say that from a penalty standpoint, yeah, the kid could have been better. However, when it comes to a rookie left tackle, again, the third hardest position on the offensive side of the ball, coming straight. So essentially the last 2 years of his life have been a full college season, draft prep, camp, 13 games up until that point. So the kid quite literally had no time to bulk up, didn't have an off season to really bulk up all that much, had to learn the offense, had to, I just lost my train of thought, had to play a full season up until that point. And so realistically, the argument that Brycen made for Jared Wilson is also the same for Will Campbell. He deserves another shot in 2026. He deserves an off season to develop more physically. Like you said, he's only 22, 23 years old, whatever he is. He deserves that off season to develop physically. He also deserves that off season to alter his mechanics. Because like I was saying earlier, when it comes to his mechanics, yes, Will Campbell is flawed. That's just what the argument is for me.
But anyways, that's fixable, right?
It's totally fixable. So I'm not one to, go off of the armchair quarterback when it comes to, tackle technique. I tend to listen to the players. I've heard so many players say that Will Campbell's issues from a technical standpoint are extremely fixable. And that gives me hope because, again, third hardest position, arguably could be second hardest position on the offensive side of the ball.
PatsPro, what is the second hardest after quarterback?
I would argue wide receiver.
Okay, all right, I got you.
So I would argue that wide receiver and left tackle could interchange between 2 and 3. Obviously, quarterback, you're touching the ball every play, so that's the hardest position. But when it comes to either getting open for the quarterback or blocking the quarterback's blind side, that is so different in terms of skill set. But they are both equally as difficult.
If you have to play every position of receiver, absolutely, because you have to know the whole playbook.
Yep, you have to know the whole playbook. But when it comes
you have to diagnose defenses as well. So you're kind of like a quarterback. Yeah.
However, left tackle, the importance of it, you're the quarterback's blind spot protector if you're dealing with a right-handed quarterback, which most are. So I would argue that you can make arguments for both. Anyways,
true.
Give him a full off season to alter his technique. And I've heard countless, former players and current players say that his issues are fixable. That gives me hope. But also from what I see, the kid, he's a left tackle. He just, the way he moves with the quickness of his feet, with the ability to anchor, the ability to hand fight accurately, he's a left tackle. His skill set is left tackle, not left guard.
I have a theory. I think Brycen doesn't agree with what you just said. That's my profound theory right there.
I'd say if you were to set it, I'd say it's probably plus 500 that he agrees with me and minus 5,000 that he doesn't agree with me.
Brycen, do you think his issues can be corrected on the edge there?
Do you know how many times that I've sat here in an off season and heard someone say, "Well, if Nikhil Harry just runs his routes a little bit better, he'll be awesome." Well, if blah 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 happens, no, these players are people too. Okay, they have been criticized before, and I understand. Like there you can give some people some grace and say they'll be better or whatever. I just totally think that a lot of his problems are simply due to his physical limitations, and I think that like looking over that, like to me. Pat's Pro's argument is like, look what he's done and he's young. And my argument is like, yeah, look what he's done. He's playing out of position. And if you were to take Joe Tooney, if you were to take Zach Martin, if you were to take Joel Bitonio, all TJ Lang, Tyler Smith, if you would play him at left tackle, you would see similar results. They would do the same types of things. And you would be like, well, they're not really that bad. I mean, they could, maybe with another year they would be good. But my argument has always been like, yeah, like why would you do that to yourself? Because you have a player who, if you look at all the best left tackles in the NFL, you can look at their wingspan, look at their arm length. It's like the only player that comes close is Rashawn Slater, and he's like a complete outlier, right? It's like I look at Will Campbell, and I don't think like, oh, he's bad, whatever. I think like, dude, he would like totally be thriving in this separate position where he doesn't have to move so much. He doesn't have to worry about all these guys with long arms, and we saw it. And everyone has memory hold this game against the Steelers game, 7 pressures. And that was like, some people said more. Some people said 10. And PFF, I think it was PFF's had him as 4. Some people said 10. The one I had was like 7s. And Nick Herbig just stole his lunch. And then we watched the Myles Garrett game. It's like, I know that's Myles Garrett, okay, but that's Nick Herbig out there. And you saw with a lot of these pass rushers that were good, this is the kind of stuff that happens to Joe Tooney when he plays left tackle. Or remember when Brian Sork when he played left tackle. Or remember when Logan Mankins had to play left tackle. Like when I watch him, I'm like, dude, this is watching a square peg in a round hole. Like this is not even fair to him, and it's really not even his fault. And people, and I know what the players are saying, but people that are really smart about this stuff and analyze this stuff for a living, if you know Brandon Thorne, he's one of the best on X at talking about this stuff. And he's not a hater. He's like an offensive line guru. He was like, no, Will Campbell will be a guy that he'll be solid, just like all of the other guards that I listed, that if they would have played tackle, they would be solid there. And that's kind of like the conundrum we're in, because he's solid enough to where you're like, could he be better? I don't know. Could he just, maybe he'll just fix his technique. But what we fail to realize is like, he played at LSU. He had the best coaches on earth. Did they not just look at him and say, hey, Will, maybe you're a little bit too top heavy over there? Oh, hey, Will, maybe just do. It's the same thing with Drake May, who had the best coaches of all time. I argued that against Drake May. It's like, no, he's not developing. He's always been this player. And development for a lot of players is just simply a myth. And there's a lot of mental things that go with quarterbacks, like reading defense and things like that. But when it comes to just pure things like sitting down a little bit lower, simple, are we fucking kidding me? Like he can't just sit down. Like this is I can't believe like we're talking about this. Like he can't just sit lower. No, he can't, because he's 6'6" and he has a small wingspan. It's hard for him. Like everyone's talking about quick hands. Do you ever just think like it's just a matter of like this is who he is, and he's played at like the best school for offensive line of like all time, maybe Alabama, LSU. These are places that just constantly churn out great players. Like that is my argument. It's like he's not a bad player. He simply could just be kicked inside and be like a really awesome player, because guess what? He's an awesome run blocker. Okay. He's great at that. He has the perfect build to block
23rd, yeah, 39th in run block grade and 23rd in pass block grade.
And I disagree with that. I like PFF and stuff like that, but when I watch him, I think like, dude, this guy is a great. I've always said, all off season, I said in the draft and in the summertime, I said this is an A to A plus run blocker. He's a C plus to B minus at best pass blocker. Like he would just be much better if you just stuck him inside and have him on the type of rushers that aren't Myles Garrett, right?
So interesting point made by Cameron Lamberto here. The O-line coach at LSU just got fired because they had the worst O-line in the SEC after Will Campbell left. One thing I want to bring up here, and this is a great point that I've seen throughout the season when he gets beat. A lot of the lineman experts, which I am definitely not, say that the way that he won in college was a lot of set it and forget it, where he would get back into his kick step, into his, haunches very fast and wait for them to come to him. Now, do you see that, Brycen, as something that's fixable? Because to me, I could see that where in college you can get away with something like that, and then you get to the level of athlete in the NFL and you try to do something like that and let them come to you, and you're fucked from the get-go, right? You got a speed rusher or a bull rusher coming at you, and if you don't engage them, that seems to be, to me, his biggest flaw is when he doesn't engage them and he lets them come to him, it's over. It's automatically over. And so to me, I've seen that argument made. What would you say about that argument, to set it and forget it and wait for them to come to you? It seems like that's part of his flaw.
I don't like it.
I mean, look at the types of edge rushers that you have. These are some of the best athletes literally on planet Earth. Like, these are guys that have extremely long arms. These are guys that are fast. These are guys that can jump high. These are guys that are strong. Like, look at Myles Garrett, the best of the best, right? Look at even people like Nick Herbig. These are extreme athletes that you have. So you're setting them against a guy who has like an outlier reach and wingspan. And not only that, but he's a narrow guy. He simply has small shoulders, which he's like 7th percentile in wingspan. So like, if I just told you guys, I was like, look, we're going to go into this game. We have a lineman that's 7th percentile in wingspan. We're going to use him to block Myles Garrett. You would look at me funny. And something that you wouldn't say is like, but does he have really awesome technique? Like, that is just, to me, that's just putting it would be nice. It would be amazing if Will Campbell could just like suddenly become this technical prowess offensive lineman. I just think that simply that is like, I would love for that to happen, by the way, but he has been playing offensive line virtually his entire life. This is like a one-off season to do this. Like, where does this happen? Like, you know how many players in the NFL that you could just say, well, if they just got their technique a little bit better, they would be gooder. It's like, I've seen this so many times. It's like, to me, it's wishful thinking to me.
So, Joe, I had to pull this up because why call the kid? He's a grown man. He doesn't understand where we're from. This Luke guy. We're from the Northeast. Any person our age or younger is referred to as a kid. I call people my peers. I call my peers kids. So this kid's 22 years old, and I'm pushing an age that I don't want to disclose right now. So yes, we're still gonna freaking call the kid a kid. So I don't know where this guy's from. Yeah, exactly. In the Northeast, we call guys kids. So just get over it. I just had to.
It's a term of endearment, you know.
Exactly.
So Pats Pro, what would you say about that argument that maybe at LSU he got away with, maybe is it a lazy, is it a, this works for everything because I'm not facing elite talent. I'm just going to get back and let them come to me. Clearly it didn't work this year. I mean, I'm not saying he lost every, and Brycen, I think that's the other point to your argument is, he did have good reps too against these elite players. So to me, is there any chance, and PatsPro, I'll let you jump in here, is there any chance that he corrects that and gets more aggressive? Like, that's when I saw him be successful, he was aggressive at getting that first punch out there versus letting them come to him. And when they came to him, it was already over. It was completely over. What do you think, PatsPro?
Yeah, so I would argue a couple of things. The first thing I would argue immediately is that Will Campbell was not just a set and forget tackle in college. He played in the SEC. I don't know if anyone's watched the SEC in the last I don't know ever. They produce high quality edge talent all the time, and he had to go against that. So he had to be extremely aggressive with his technique, with his hand placement, his body movement. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to Bryce's argument that for a lot of players, progressing is kind of a myth, and that's not true, necessarily true for all players. I would disagree with that totally. Now, yes, I understand his N'Keal Harry, dig in terms of, if N'Keal Harry would just, run his routes better. I would contend that N'Keal Harry is a fucking idiot.
Oh yeah.
What about Isaiah Wynn?
Didn't get it.
Let me get to that. I'm glad you brought up Isaiah Wynn. Actually, Isaiah Wynn was also a fucking idiot. So let me just get that out there. N'Keal Harry couldn't get out of his own way. I think personally that he was not the correct mental makeup in order to make a big change or a big splash in this league. Number one. Number two, to your point about Isaiah Wynn, he, the coaching staff had different ideas for him at the time, and he tried to play along, but he wasn't always giving it his best effort. I think we could all agree that Isaiah Wynn was kind of dogging it on a lot of reps when he was having issues with the coaching staff. Now, when it comes to Will Campbell and a mentality standpoint, I'm not sure you can find a better mentality for an offensive lineman than what Will Campbell has. So I believe personally that it is true. They were mental and physical return of the DILF. I will mention that. But with Will Campbell specifically, to get back on track, the mental makeup and the willingness to improve, I think personally that's the kind of player that you want, and that's the kind of player that you should bet on to improve year over year, a la Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman being, the best case of improvement you've ever seen in your life. However, he had that same mentality of the never quit, always trying to get better, always trying to compete. So to Bryson's point about people, not necessarily getting better, always being who they are, Will Campbell's a left tackle. That's who he is, and I think he'll do what it takes to get better, and that comes in the form of altering his technique.
Absolutely. And that guy wasn't wrong about, he was wrong about N'Keal Harry. That kid had mental acumen issues as well as having slow feet. He could not grasp the concept of a pro style offense. Just the guy commented, I had to comment back. That's all I got on that.
I'm with you. All right, boys. I think we're at closing arguments.
Yes.
So at this point in the in this hearing, you guys can bring up anything Will Campbell related. You could bring up his personal life. You could bring up his anything you'd like. So let's start. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'm going to start and let these guys have at it afterwards. Okay. So the thing with Will Campbell, where I come down on it is as follows. No matter what we think and what we say, Mike Vrabel is stubborn enough, no matter what the performance is, unless it falls off an absolute cliff, even worse than last year, he's not going to move the kid away from left tackle. So we have to look at different contingency plans on that.
Not with that attitude.
And it's a little bit unfortunate. Like, I feel like if we reconfigured our line for the Super Bowl, we might have had a better chance. But as of right now, we're stuck with this guy for better or worse. He needs to hit. First of all, him and Drake May both need to hit the gym. Do you see how slender and slight these guys are in the arms and the chest? They both need to get a little bit of girth. It's not going to throw off his throwing motion if he hits the gym a little bit. They're very undefined dudes. And a guy like Will Campbell especially needs to get, he's got plenty of lower strength when he's not hurt, but he needs to get some of that upper strength, because everybody's going to get their hands into him before he gets to them. We all know that. That's like the big argument here about the short arms and the wingspan and whatnot. So if he at least has the strength to fight them off, he just needs to hit the gym, him and Drake May. But as of right now, Mike Vrabel's a little bit stubborn, almost to a fault, and I see Will Campbell staying at the left tackle position next year.
All right, who's up next?
I will acquiesce to Bryson. Since I took the beginning of the opening arguments, I will allow him to take the first of the closing.
Very classic.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me on here. Thank you to everyone for listening. It was a very fun argument that we had here today. And I think what I said in my opener was correct. I think a lot of people that were listening they've walked away and they thought, you know what, that Brycen guy, he's not so bad. He may tweet mean things about Will Campbell during the middle of a football games, but he really actually does believe in him. He just thinks that simply he's being misconstrued by the coaching staff. He's being played out of position, perhaps. And you know what? I have people wanting to kiss me on the lips. So you know what? What can I say? But I couldn't stop after that. But it's like, I agree with PatsPro. Will Campbell, it seems like he has good character. He seems like a great guy, and I really do wish the best for him. And I really hope that everyone ratios me in the future and is like, you're wrong, because I'm not talking about what ought to happen. I'm not talking about what will happen. I'm saying like what I think should happen. And this is just my opinion, right? And if you look at the 25 Campbell regular season snaps versus the 24 low regular season snaps, by the way, in a bad year with even a worse offensive line, it's like Lowe only gave up 0.8 pressures more per game. And someone would say, like, yeah, that's almost a pressure per game. But okay, well, Will Campbell gave up like 14 of those in the Super Bowl. So, like, what are we really talking about? I left out the playoffs, by the way. So it's like, at the end of the day, if you look at Will Campbell, how he's built, all this stuff, the top offensive linemen, and versus if you just like take it blank sheet, forget everything that you even just know. If I just read to you the wingspan, the physical abilities, the nature of the tackle to guard converts versus the top tackles in the NFL, you'll look at this on paper and you'll say, like, a lot of the things that I'm saying actually do make sense. And this is not a bad player, okay? Will Campbell is not a bad player at all. I think personally he's just playing out of position. And yes, you are like, I don't think that you should just be like, well, we just drafted him at left tackle, sunk cost fallacy. We'll just have to just keep going around and around. Like, to me, like, I think the worst thing about this argument is that he will end up being like a solid tackle. And I think nothing more than that. He'll be okay. He'll have some good games and things like that. The Patriots' schedule is very hard next year, guys. It's, I know he said that the Patriots played the best defensive lines in the NFL, but the Patriots' schedule next year is really hard. There's going to be a lot of pass rushing. There's not going to be many and the other thing that we like glossed over is there's many games where the Patriots are blowing teams the hell out. And that actually contributes to Will Campbell's stats because he's not doing a lot of pass pro in the fourth quarter, right? So a lot of this does contribute to this. But when the Patriots needed to pass, when the Patriots were down, we look at the Falcons game, we look at the Raiders game, we look at the Steelers game. Guys, look at the losses, the games where they needed to pass. Guess what? Those were the games he struggled. You saw it because this is the reason. He's not as good as a pass blocker as you guys think. And yes, he was awesome in the Panthers game when they won by 1 million points. Okay, what does that matter to me? It's like when we look at Will Campbell, when we look at the size and the nature, the physical abilities, this is a player who I think would be an awesome guard. Okay, I believe that Will Campbell would be an awesome guard. You could literally just put him right there, and he could be your Joe Thuney. Guys, if Joe Thuney played left tackle, he's solid when he plays left tackle. But like, is it better for Joe Thuney's teams that he plays tackle if they have like a worse tackle than him? Or should they just play him at a position where he's an all-pro and it makes complete – are all-pro guards meaningless now? Do we just not care about all-pro guards? If Will Campbell's an all-pro guard, do we just throw up our hands and be like, well, that doesn't matter because you need a tackle that is like 11th to 12th in the NFL? It's like, okay, that doesn't make sense to me. It's actually not easy to find a guard in the NFL. It's not easy to find a center in the NFL. It's not easy to find a tackle. All these things are hard to find. So what you have in your lap is a player that loves the Patriots. What you have in your lap is a player that has high character. And I personally think that what would be best for the Patriots, and I said this last year, this is not me just watching in February, okay? This is me, that's something that I said in the summer when people were like, remember this, oh, Keon White, Will Campbell, iron sharpens iron. Keon White kicked the shit out of Will Campbell all summer, and people were making excuses left and right, okay?
He was out of a job.
He was perfectly healthy then. And you see this. Keon White is a longer athletic guy, right? So it's like, how about you just say, hey, Will Campbell, let's have a couple practices where he plays left guard. This is not rocket science, okay, as Bill Belichick would say. Plenty of players have played tackle to guard. Plenty of players like Trent Brown. Trent Brown went from right tackle to left tackle, won a Super Bowl, and was the best tackle in the entire NFL playoffs. He was awesome. It's not, I know it's difficult, but it's not like the hardest thing of all time, right? So just sit down. What I would say, what I would finish with is like, keep an open mind. And if you get to pick 31 or whatever, and there's a good tackle there and you draft him and Morgan Moses is still there. I would want to try that out, right? I would want to see what would happen. I would want to put Will Campbell there and be like, and I'm not saying they're going to do this because I have a feeling I agree with you guys. The noise is not going to be loud enough for Will Campbell to just move inside the guard. Maybe they will. They met with with a tackle like yesterday. I'm pretty sure that might be due diligence, but they did actually do that. It's like I think they should be like, look, Will has great character. Let's stick him inside and just see how he likes it. See how he feels about that. Because I have a feeling when he's blocking players that are like a similar build to like Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, he's going to do a lot better than like human like people that were like not on this earth 500 years ago.
Mutants,
like Miles Garrett, T.J. Watt, all these guys. Just put him in the position of left guard and just see where it happens. But PatsPro and a lot of the stuff he's saying is going to be right because he's going to look good enough, and people are going to forget about the Steelers game when he gave up like 7 to 10 pressures or whatever it was. People are going to forget about all the games when they needed to pass and they just couldn't do it because Will Campbell is getting bodied every single pass play. Like, and a lot of it is Drake. I was one of the ones who grades Drake Mays every snap, and I will tell you there are plays where he simply takes sacks, right? But a lot of it's like actually hard to grade because immediately he has people reaching over Will Campbell. There are still shots you can see where Will Campbell is like not touching the guy, and the guy's arm is in his chest, and he's not moving him. Like, you're asking this guy to be perfect. Why not just put him at left guard and be like, look, you don't have to block these freaks anymore. Okay, let's go inside. You're a smart guy. You'll be able to block these guys the same way that TJ Lang does, the same way that Zach Martin does, the same way that Joe Tooney does. Okay. He's our left tackle. Get over it. Okay. Like, why do we have this conversation? Like, you know what? You're like one of the people who like actually should not be allowed to talk. Okay.
Seriously.
He's our tackle. Get over it. Okay. Whatever. Like, we're talking about things that ought to be. Okay. Exactly. I know Will Campbell is probably going to be the Patriots left tackle. I'm simply arguing against it. So with that, thank you guys for having me on here, and I look forward to PatsPro's closing statement. And thank you everyone in the comments that commented. This was a really fun debate. Like I said, we could have held this debate anywhere. We held it here because these guys are awesome. So thank you, everyone.
Appreciate you, Brycen.
Yeah, this guy didn't realize it was a debate, a healthy debate. So those comments, they're not. And he also says that he could come on and do a better job. I highly doubt that.
I'd love to hear it, buddy.
No, he's not. He's not invited. He's kicked out.
He's not.
Forget him. Forget it. I want to hear from PatsPro. That's what I want to do.
Let's hear it, PatsPro.
Well, gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity, as Brycen said, to thank you for having us on and allowing us to have a spirited debate. I might add, you're both looking very handsome tonight. Brycen, you too, I guess. But in all seriousness, I will keep my closing arguments quite brief because I don't want to belabor the point. Will Campbell is a young man. While I am from Rhode Island, I will call him a young man, not a young kid guy. Will Campbell's a young man. He is a young man with the correct character, a young man who, against all odds, physical and otherwise, when he played, was just outside the top 10 in important statistical categories in his rookie season. I think, given this and given his mental toughness and aptitude, through the years, you will see that not only will he be a decent left tackle, as Brycen has said, because that's what he is right now. He is a decent left tackle. He'll become one of the greats of this decade. I know I said century earlier, I meant decade. Having said that, are there opportunities? Are there flaws? Yes. Every player has opportunities. Every player has flaws. It is how those players respond to them and work on them. That's what counts. And I personally believe Will Campbell has the traits to make him successful. Now, I will leave you with this. Who the hell else are they going to get at an affordable price? Who the hell else are they going to get in the draft that is going to produce even 90% of the results that Will Campbell produced? He solidified our offensive line. Yes, did Drake May have a hand in that? Absolutely. Did Josh McDaniels have a hand in that? Absolutely. But you added a left tackle and you immediately got better. You went 14-3. During the run they had, I believe it was 10 wins at that time that Will Campbell was a part of. So, having said that, I'll leave it for the esteemed jury to decide. But again, I just
All
want
right.
to thank you and have a wonderful night.
I definitely appreciate all the evidence provided. I appreciate all the witnesses and the candor here in this courtroom and the respect for the jury and the judge. Mike, if you'd like to go into the back room, we could deliberate for a minute and then come back in.
Indeed, I will retire and come back in.
A short deliberation.
After I come back to my deliberation.
Wow, it's just me.
Apparently it's just us. Brycen, you're the face of this operation. Good luck.
Listen, I did a whole hour and a half on a podcast by myself before. I'm sure PatsPro does podcast by himself too. So
I do, in fact, do podcasts by myself. It's why I like to have guests, because quite frankly, after a certain point, I kind of go insane.
Yeah, we can completely do this right now. Look at these guys deliberate. Who do they think they are? Who do you think you are? Joe and Mike.
Yeah, just leaving us on the cuff. I could say anything I want right now and not be held responsible for it. It's their podcast.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, everyone watching, I think that I've said this, like I'm writing an article and I haven't quite finished it yet because I'm a little concerned. All these debates and podcasts have been on the past couple of days, but I just truly actually do worry that the Patriots are just going to be like, well, if Will Campbell's healthy and Drake's healthy and we'll just run it back, whatever, and that scares me. So,
all right, order in the court. Order in the court.
Do I get an appeal if this doesn't go my way?
There is an appeals process. It's very lengthy and it's very expensive. Okay, so Mike and I did deliberate. We felt that there was one side that thoroughly explained key points in this trial. In the case of Will Campbell as left tackle, we say Will Campbell is guilty of all charges. And even though he may be our left tackle next year, we do feel that the evidence presented does show that he would be better served as a guard. For this, Will Campbell will probably play out his remaining year as a left tackle and probably will receive plenty of shame. Mike, do you have anything to add?
I do. I'm in the camp that he's going to stay at tackle for many different reasons. However, and PatsPro, he made like all the points as to why, and it's all true. But the things that Brycen said were true too, as far as working in a lesser amount of space with that particular skill set and body frame. It does make sense. The thing that I have a worry about is I don't feel like starting over at left tackle. There's no left tackles in free agency, like no good ones anyway. And I don't want another rookie left tackle next year. Now, I think that we need to upgrade at the left guard position, and Jared Wilson needs to be either the center or a backup center and swing guy. I firmly believe that, but Mike Vrabel doesn't. So I think that Wilson's still going to be the left guard, and I still think Will Campbell's left guard. But as far as the argument is concerned, I'm sorry, PatsPro, I have to give it to Brycen because he gave it many compelling reasons as to why he would be a fit moving inside to guard.
What sold me, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, is you answer a question. I do believe you answer a question by moving Will Campbell to left guard. I think we all know that he could play that position and play it well, even though he doesn't have a lot of experience. We've seen it happen, and with plenty of players in the past who can hack it at left tackle, and then they dominate at left guard. So that's what won me over, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Mike, anything else you want to add?
Not really. I thought this was a fantastic show. You guys both showed out. You were ready. You were prepared to go. You allowed me to interject with my obnoxious nonsense when I chose fit. So we appreciate it. We always love healthy debates on this show. We're always trying to look for that. It drums up interest. So we're real. I'm personally, I can speak for Joe as well. We're real happy about the way this whole thing turned out. I thought it was an awesome debate. I thought you guys were very respectful of one another and had very compelling arguments on both sides. So we definitely accomplished what we were trying to achieve here tonight. So you guys thank us for letting you guys come on. We thank you for being a part of it. You know, we're always going to be, you know, Joey's always on the lookout for the guys that are hot on the streets and Twitter and whatnot. So, and he loves you two guys. So you guys are welcome to come back and debate or just pontificate or talk at any given time. So I'm really happy about it. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, PatsPro, for coming on. I just do want to say, though, that sentencing will be on March 15th at 2 p.m. So please be prompt to court.
I would like to say this entire trial was rigged. It is terrible. None of you know ball, and I will never be coming on this show ever again. I am burning this bridge. I'm burning this whole motherfucker down. I'm just kidding. Gentlemen, thank you. I appreciate it. Brycen, excellent job. Well done.
Yeah, thank you guys. And you know, PatsPro did a good job there. You know, and I've argued against Will Campbell stands many a times, and they all, you know, he was one of the best. So I'm really happy that he was on here to do this, and I'm actually like really pleased that we could actually have a conversation about this stuff, because in years past and summers past and off seasons, it's like there's always this looming thing that we don't talk about, and everyone is scared. All the creators are scared to talk about. Like, no one wants to talk about, is Cam Newton actually good? No one wants to talk about, is Mac actually good? No, you know, all these questions that we have that people will just get attacked for, is like, now we actually have talked about it, so people can just sit where they lay. And you know what? I'll be honest with you guys. If Will Campbell comes out next year, he's a Pro Bowler, he's an All-Pro guy, something like this, I will buy his jersey and wear it. And I'm not even a jersey guy, because I do want the Patriots to win games. Like, I'm not like some contrarian or anything like that. Maybe I am in some ways, but I simply, as in, I have my own thoughts, but I want the Patriots to win just as bad as you do. So this is my solution to this problem. And PatsPro thinks the exact same way. He just happens to disagree with me on this topic. So I promise you, if Will Campbell has a great season, I'll be the first one to be like, that was awesome. Okay. So I'm not going to be like some idiot that is sit here and like just
rise it into the ground.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Well, I'm glad that we didn't talk about other stuff, because we filled an hour and 16 minutes just on Will.
And that was the best off-season content that will happen all month.
Honestly, it's fire.
I didn't think we could do it. I didn't think we could fill up a whole hour. We filled up an hour and 15, an hour and 16.
The only reason that PatsPro even lost the debate is because I just simply talked the whole time.
Yeah, this guy didn't shut up. I didn't get a chance to talk. You know, I was being nice. You know, what the hell?
Like, Brycen never shuts up. It's like,
we were trying. We were trying to kick it over to you, man. We were doing our best, but this is our first time holding a town court meeting here in this regard.
Hey,
so we're gonna.
Not my job it's not my job to get better at it. The other side gets a fair shake. I just want my shake. I don't care about his shake.
Well, maybe next time we'll have a live jury, and Mike and I will just play the judge, and we'll actually have a jury that's separate. Maybe that'll be fun.
Listen,
or take a poll. We can get a poll going.
Oh, I like that. I do.
If they were actual Patriots fans and we were actually in person, I would have been assaulted in the middle of the trial.
Yeah, right. Someone just comes over the table, jumps at you. All right, boys. Well, thank you guys for coming on. It's been a blast. We have a lot going on in the offseason. You know, we didn't talk about free agency. We didn't talk about the Dolphins dumping their whole team. We didn't talk about all the great free agents out there. We didn't talk about the draft. There's so much to talk about, guys, and it's great because this is one of the benefits of going to the Super Bowl. Even though we lost, we're almost jumping straight into like free agency,
right into it.
Season. Like it's awesome, guys. I love it. Anyone who says that it was worse that we went to the Super Bowl and lost is absolutely fucking mental.
They don't know ball.
I don't understand that take. It's the dumbest take I've ever heard. You guys would all be blowing everybody to get in this draft. The Bills fans are like, oh, you went to the Super Bowl. It sucked. You guys didn't even make it, so I don't want to hear it. It's better to dance than to never dance at all. Exactly. I like it, Brycen. All right, boys. Well, it's been a real episode. Thank you guys for coming on, and as always, let's fucking go. Go, Michael Rubin over Babs. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Fuck.